Hey, Steve Mignani here doing the Junkyard Crawl at Berniston Auto Wrecking in Berniston, Massachusetts with a 1985 Chevy or GMC S15. Now we know that the Chevy S10 and GMC S15 arrived on the scene in 1982. And in fact, they were sold alongside the Chevy Love, which was the light utility vehicle, LUV, which was an Isuzu product that was imported. Now the thing that separated the S15 and the S10 was that these were basically designed in America. They were no longer captive imports brought in from Japan. These were Chevrolet and General Motors, or GMC's, first compact pickup trucks designed here in this country for use in this country. Now, in total in 1985, Chevrolet sold 172,955 S10 pickup trucks. By comparison, GMC sold 57,740, so about a third as many. Again, Chevy always outsold GMC, but GMC was always available, and usually Buick and Pontiac dealerships would have a GMC truck franchise as a cherry on top. So they didn't have quite the exposure, but still, these were quite popular. Now, I'm old enough to remember when these things were new, but nowadays, these square body S10 and S15s are getting to be very hot with collectors. Now, this one here is very unusual. The two-tone paint on this one stands apart. The striping here stands apart. This is a Gypsy. What does that mean? Well, about 800 bucks made this the sportiest S15 possible. The Gypsy interior went with the two-tone paint and the body-colored bumpers, which we'll see in a moment, but inside something very cool. The Gypsy, for 800 bucks, got you the high back bucket seats with those really cool truck repeating graphics, also seen on other areas inside. And again, these are similar to Camaro high back buckets, and again, part of the $800 Gypsy package. And that whole truck thing was part of GM Truck and Coach's corporate pride in 1985, because along with Buick, they were the official truck of the 1985 Summer Olympics in LA, and so a big source of pride. Now we also see here S15 Gypsy right here in the glove compartment door. So Gypsy was a big deal. Other elements of the Gypsy package, of course, were power windows, a special sport steering wheel. If you look at that steering wheel, it's got a leather wrap. That steering wheel not available on any other GMC S15 pickup truck. So the Gypsy was kind of unique and kind of special. Another detail too, new for 1985, was this. This is InstaTrack. This would have been on the center console, which allowed you to go from two-wheel drive to four high at any speed, anytime. However, if you wanted four low, you had to come to a complete stop. But again, that was a big deal. The InstaTrack on the S15, which arrived in 1984, second model year. And keep in mind too, in 1982, the first year for the S10 and S15, they were two-wheel drive only. 83 was the first year they got four-wheel drive as an option, which we see here. And again, something about four-wheel drive S10s and S15s is the fact they have wider track, and they always have these add-on wheel lips right here. And you thought the Dodge Demon wide body was a new thing, but yeah, again, we see the four-wheel drive S's always had this. Of course, at the back, the factory graphics, four-wheel drive. Now, one thing we can always see in most GMC and Chevy trucks is the SPID. We look inside the Glubby and Shane, if you want, focus in on that puppy. And that basically is the DNA printout of what the truck's made of. And I have my 1986 car prices here, but we see this one has the C60 air conditioning, which was 740 bucks. The Z71 off-road package for $685. And on this one, there's also going to be an N90 code there, which was the cast aluminum wheels, which were standard on Gypsy. But as we can see here in our price guide, right here, this is 1986 price guide right here. And I guess a year later, so the price on this are a little higher than 85, which is the truck. But again, we can see right here, the N90 cast aluminum wheels, 294 bucks, but again, standard and included in the Gypsy package for that $800 surcharge. But something that we don't see on this truck now are those wheels. They've been scavenged, and now we just have some standard G-body type steel wheels. But we can also see here where the hub on this is farther out than it would be on a two-wheel drive, because again, that four-wheel drive line is wider, and thus we need to have these wheel lips. Now on this one here, the engine is going to be a 2.8 V6, because you couldn't get the four-popper with the all-wheel drive in a Gypsy. So before we do that, let's take a look at the grille. Again, part of the Gypsy was the blacked out grille. Very sinister looking right here, blacked out like that. The bumpers actually are matched to the lower of the two-tone paint. And right here, there it is right there, 2.8 fuel injection, which is as good as it got in 1985. 1988 would bring the 4.3, which was a whole different engine, a whole lot better engine, but again, 2.8 fuel injection. And let's have a look at that engine right there, and pop this hood open. Yeah, there it is. I remember when these things were new, and these had, I think, 130 horsepower or something like that, which wasn't a whole bunch, but again, this is the 60-degree 2.8 liter V6, 173 cubic inches. And, you know, the thing of it is, this same basic engine was used in the Chevy Citation, the Pontiac Fiero, where it was mounted sideways. But again, in these things, it made enough power to get these things out of their own way. But again, the other engines here would have been, I think, a 2-liter four-banger and a 2.5-liter four-banger. So this 2.8 was the big block, at least until 1988, when the 4.3, which is a Chevy small block minus 2 cylinders, arrived as the top engine. But something kind of cool, a four-wheel drive truck, the 4x4 logo here on the underhood silencing pad, kind of cool, 4x4. All those little touches. Underhood inspection light right here, the service light. Air conditioning on this one, of course. I believe that might have been part of the Gypsy package. But again, Gypsy arrived in 1982 along with the first S10s and S15s. It actually was a GMC package. But again, the Gypsy was a standalone, the top level. And this one here, it's kind of interesting and shocking that this still has its original paint and original graphics. These are usually resprayed or banged up and whatever, but this is almost very pure, and yet it's also very much degraded because it's been here in New England its entire life. But these are pretty unusual vehicles, and again, these square body S10 and S15 Chevy pickups are coming on strong with collectors, and I get it. I'm old enough to where these things were new, and I still see them as new, but if you're a little younger, you might say, that's a cool old truck, and they are. Now, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe to Steve Mag's YouTube channel. We'll be back tomorrow with more Junkyard Talk.